about this. She's like,
Okay, we're on film now.
What she said?
Nothing.
We
She
can
said
pull it
karma.
on this. It's okay.
She said karma. Okay.
So I'm Brian.
I'm Ava.
I'm Sarah, I guess. Some days.
We're gonna be talking about tone and diction, figurative language, sentence structure, Aristotelian appeals, soaps, and
Stuff.
other language things that we learned in AP Language and Composition.
Someone remember all that. We can't think of anything to talk
Yeah,
about.
I don't know.
Alright.
I didn't know half the stuff that you talked about. Okay. So,
Do you want to explain diction? I'll explain tone, and then Brian, you do sentence structure.
Sure.
I'm explaining diction.
Yes.
Wish I understood diction. No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding about that.
She's not
Just
kidding.
Diction is like word choice, right? Like how. Yes, it is word choice. Oh, that's when you use like monosyllabic and polysyllabic words. So you describe the syllables and the length of the words. That's when you say when it's like colloquial or like slang or dialect or informal, formal, neutral, and old-fashioned. Normally, speeches are formal. And what's a good informal example?
A cartoon.
A cartoon. That's a good one. Way to go, Ava. That's when describing the diction, you describe whether it's connotative or deconnotative. So whether it has a positive feeling or like a negative feeling. Words can be concrete or abstract. So concrete words would be like physical qualities, like Ava's hair is brown. It's a physical quality, and she has pretty eyes. And a abstract one would be like emotions and stuff. That'd be like, Ava's feeling weird today. No, that wouldn't be a good one, actually. She's feeling sad. Is that considered? Sure, why not? Then there's euphonious and cacophonous words. So it's pleasant sounding and harsh sounding. So pleasant sounding word would be butterfly, and a harsh sounding word would be pus. Oh, I hate that word.
Like
Moist.
moist. Yeah.
Moist.
Crevice.
Is it weird that whenever I think of awkward words, I think of Jamesy?
I think Jamesy too, because he always says awkward
Like
words.
moist. Ew. Okay.
He told me he had a moist crevice the other day.
That's really gross. Those are cacophonous words.
Very cacophonous.
Ew. Words to describe a language would be how to describe from like different tones, and actually I don't understand how we describe the language like this.
Which one?
Like these words. Like where did
Oh,
these
these?
words come from?
To describe the diction. Okay, so if like the words are really intelligent and long and diverse, I guess it would be scholarly, meaning the writer tends to write for people who are highly educated, and that's not a word either.
Educated.
I guess like
Oh, okay. So it's like
yeah. So I guess it's like just the feeling of the words, like trite, like a trite word. That's sad, right?
I think so. Bombastic.
Like, like.
Well, why don't we talk about tone?
All right,
You can tell
I'm
me.
gonna start about tone.
Contrast them.
All right, tone. It's like the way the speaker, the author, is making his writing sound. Like the tone could be angry, like the person in the story or in the piece is writing either angrily or the character seems like angry. Like the writing is just angry. Like the person feels very strongly about what they're writing about. The tone could be sad, like an essay about dying children in Africa would be sad, and the tone would probably be very depressing.
Shut up, Brian.
Would it really?
Yes, and sympathetic or humorous. A humorous tone would be in like an essay, probably written by a comedian or someone who's just trying to be funny, and the essay overall is going to be humorous. The language is going to be joking, things like that. The tone could also be childish, meaning that the writer wrote it as if like with children in mind, maybe, and the words just seem very like simple and that. And let's see what else. Tone could be bitter if they're writing about something that upsets them or hurt them. They can be bitter about it. It's the author. It's basically the way the author feels about what they're writing about. All right, I think I'm going to hand over sentence structure over to Bread Pie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, so when authors use sentence structure, they usually want to try to vary it up to make their piece more interesting. So, like, they don't want to use, unless they're aiming to do that purposely, they usually don't want to do, like, all the same type of sentences. The easiest way to tell what this author's sentence structure is by looking at the sentence length. And if it's telegraphic, they're shorter than 5 words in length for the most part. If they are short, about 5 words. Medium is approximately 18 words. I'm not sure how that number got there. It's a good, nice number.
It's a nice number.
Or long and involved, which is long sentences like 30 words, I guess. So then there are specific types of sentences that authors make use of. I'll start with simple sentence, 'cause it's a basic one. It contains one subject and one verb. Then there's a compound sentence, which contains 2 independent clauses joined by a conjunction or a semicolon. Complex sentence contains an independent clause and a subordinate clause. So that's pretty interesting. Compound complex sentence contains 2 or more principal clauses and 1 subordinate clause. Then there are other specific types of sentences that don't just like describe them, but how they're written. So like a loose or cumulative sentence is a sentence that makes sense like right away, but then you keep adding stuff to the end of it to give more detail. And then the opposite of that is a periodic sentence, which only makes sense when the end of it is reached. There's also balanced sentence, where the phrases balance each other out by having the same structure, or like parallelism. And then for the order of a sentence, there's something called the natural order, which subject comes before the verb, and there's inverted, where the verb comes before the subject.
What is an example of a natural order?
An example of a natural order sentence,
Natural
just
order.
like Sarah likes tea.
I do
But
enjoy
then
it.
like inverted order would be like tea is liked by Sarah. Well, it's
It's pretty simple. It's a simple way of describing
It
it,
is.
but it's effective.
agreed.
exactly. Then there's other types. Split order divides the predicate into 2 parts. Juxtaposition relates 2 different types of ideas together. Parallel structure is structurally similar in both parts of the sentence. And then there's a rhetorical question, which has been used by a lot of the authors we have been reading, and it draws attention to a point and strengthens an argument. And that's sentence structure. That's pretty much all you gotta know.
Alrighty, sounds good. So maybe we should talk about some Aristotelian appeals.
Okay.
I'll talk about which ones do you guys want?
I'll take pathos.
I guess I'll take logos.
Please move with those. I guess.
Yep.
You got
Who's
this.
got their sheet so we can explain well?
Looks like me.
Which sheet? We don't have a sheet on it. It's actually on our laptop.
So yeah, let me think about some logos.
Think about it.
Found
Oh,
it.
look at
Thank you,
you.
Brett Pop. All right, logos. Logical means persuading by use of reasoning, like providing math to explain why something works. Like it's hard evidence as to why something works. Like, what's an example?
You doing logos?
Yeah,
It's when you like include statistics. Facts.
It's like hard facts for what you're writing. Like most people like grape juice. A logo. If it was logos, it'd be 97.6% of people, according to a study done in 2007, states that most people like grape juice, and not many like apple. All right,
Which isn't true. But
shut up,
I like
Brian.
grape juice.
I like grape
do you
juice
not like
too.
apple?
I do like apple, but
So-
I think
I'm
I
not a
like
fan of
grape juice
apple,
more.
so I'm part of that 97.2%.
That just pulled out of my ass. Okay. I said I was doing pathos. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Pathos is used a lot in persuasive pieces because you want to get the person that you're trying to persuade to be on your side. So an easy way to do that is through pathos, and it's an emotional appeal, and an easy way to like relate it to something we can all understand, like how Ava did the whole 97.2% people like grape juice, is if someone were to use a persuasive essay about cancer, and they said they gave this long story about how like their lives have been affected by cancer,
And
how it's painful for
and
everyone in the-
ruins families.
yeah, it's sad. It's a sad
emotional.
thing. You would want to be persuaded to that person because you have a heart, and
Yeah. 100% of all people have hearts.
that'd be nice.
That's
Logos.
logos.
Be a nice example of
We
logos.
should hand this over for some ethos, huh, Brett?
I think you should also just mention while we're talking about pathos, it's used a lot in advertisements.
It is used a lot in
Weeks.
advertisements.
For
We learned
like-
that.
Medicine and other things. Like I saw an ad once that showed an emaciated African child saying, "Donate now," and if I had a credit card, I probably would have.
Like those commercials with the animals that are all sad and like broken and stuff.
Like the one with the cats.
Yeah, the
That's
cats.
sad.
Or the
That
dogs.
gets to me.
And the
No,
dogs.
it's the cat one.
It's the
That's-
cat one. That is a great example of pathos.
Yeah, very, very sad.
There you go, Brian. Take it away.
Alright, so ethos is also generally used in persuasive essays. It's when the author pretty much gives himself credit by like talking about himself, I guess, sort of. Usually, like an example of something is like if he's writing a piece about starving African children, he could say like, "Oh, when I visited Africa 3 years ago, I saw this and this."
So I know a lot about African children.
Pretty much, like he's showing the audience how he knows about the subject, or she knows, to be non-gender specific, and yeah, pretty much it helps establish his credibility for the subject that he's writing about.
Be like a Harvard professor wrote about history, and since he's a Harvard professor, he's got some credibility.
He does.
Exactly.
All right, what should we talk about now, friends?
Why don't we talk about some essays? Like what you do in an SRQ and a synthesis and a rhetorical.
All right, who wants to cover
My strong point is the SRQ. So what's your strong?
the same? But
Okay.
I'll do rhetorical.
What's your strong
What's
point?
that?
Do you have a strong point, or are you just
No,
awesome at everything?
I suck at everything. So.
That's a lie.
Well, same, but
Aren't there only SRQ and
No, and synthesis.
yeah? So there's only two types.
So you can handle
And
synthesis.
I'll just listen.
rhetorical.
I'll listen. I'll learn. I'll
You'll
learn how to get
learn?
better at writing.
Okay. Well, in an SRQ, I do pretty well in them. On the midterm one, I got an 8.5. Just saying.
It's impressive.
It is pretty
Congratulations,
impressive. I was impressed with myself. But my way of getting a good grade on an SRQ is incorporating real life events like that happened to me. So in the one we did for the midterm, it was something like a comedian or something of the nature. Like if people.
Oh yeah,
who-
it's okay for comedians to like say certain things. It's
Yeah.
not okay for other people to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, are those people needed in society? And I said it was, and I said how I related it to American Idol and how like Simon Cowell was always the one who like gave the hard truth or whatever, and he was always like needed because he was saying what everyone else was thinking, but no one had the guts to say it. So that was kind of like a real life example rather than whatever the prompt was. So that usually helps you in an SRQ.
All right, rhetorical essay.
I need help with rhetorical.
Um,
I'm not too
for
good at that.
rhetorical essays, usually we'll read over an essay written by someone else, and we'll see which rhetorical devices they use in order to persuade, to move, to do whatever that they want, whatever their purpose of the essay was. So we'll pick them out, like say an aphora. That usually means emphasis. So an aphora, if there's a lot of aphora in a piece of writing, then usually that means emphasis and other things. If there is like personification, usually that's some imagery and giving feeling to an essay. So we would write that and say it will persuade people to or do something, or we'll just achieve the purpose of the essay. Anybody have anything to add?
No, I'm really bad at those. So,
That's my strong point.
Brian, you talk about synthesis.
Synthesis.
Yeah, that's the one where you like take like source A, source B.
Oh.
I hate synthesis. That's
Alright. Well, so synthesis, which is pretty much, I guess, document-based question, which just wrote about for the history AP exam.
Oh yeah, you just took it. Tell us how it was.
So I mean, our teacher told us in history to like pretty much use a lot of your own knowledge and apply it there. I mean, obviously that won't work in English because you're not applying information that you know, just
That's true.
using information from the documents. But I mean, pretty much in the synthesis essay, you want to try and get after you read the documents over, that's what you want to do first. You know, get all the information and settle on your thesis, what you're going to write about, and then establish which avenues you're going to use, which are the sources in. So you don't want to just use these sources in order. You want to use like your avenues in order. So like you could have source E or something in the first paragraph, now source A in the last one. You just want to order it by your
Importance, maybe?
yeah, I guess how it relates to the thesis, pretty much how you split up your avenues, and then you have to just keep making sure in each paragraph that each of your examples from these sources relate back to your thesis and reinforce your main points. And yes, make sure you use the information from the documents and interpret them correctly.
What else should we talk about, guys? Should we talk about soaps? Subject, occasion, audience, purpose, speaker. Or did I do that backwards? Speaker, occasion, audience, purpose,
No, it's subject first.
subject.
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I think it all ends up in the same place.
It's pretty important to make a soaps while writing an essay
Why is it
Helps.
important, Sarah?
because it helps sort your ideas and get you like
What's important in the essay?
what's important in the essay, what the essay is really about. Because
Purpose.
yeah, the purpose
Yeah,
and
like,
the subject
it's just like a
and
background.
the
of the
audience.
essay. Like the subject, like Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. What's the subject? Civil rights.
Yes.
What's the occasion? 1960 something.
60s.
It's the audience. African Americans during the time, and those looking to achieve civil rights for all and make all men equal. And then purpose to persuade government to allow this and to inform people of this and to move people. And speaker, MLKJ.
MLK.
It's also important to do a soaps when you start, right after you read the essay, so that when you're analyzing the other parts of the essay, like tone and diction, the soaps will help you there. So like, if you know the audience, you know what speaker's writing about, it'll be easier to help find what tone he's using or what diction. Like if his audience would be like young kids, you know his diction's going to be pretty informal. While if his audience is like scholars, you know it's going to be
It's
pretty.
like a college textbook. It'll be really deep, in depth, and use a lot of different
Exactly. So soaps helps you figure out other aspects about the
concepts
essay.
in there.
Exactly.
What else should we talk about, friend?
Well, I have some flashcards here that I was making while we were doing this video of stuff on the pink sheet that we really didn't use or that is just confusing. So,
Okay.
you two can start on these while I continue.
Right, I shall quiz you, Repack. Assonance. Yeah, that is.
When you repeat a vowel sound in
How do you know that?
We did this during lunch.
Dang.
No, I'm smart.
I had like
know.
no
I'm
clue.
smart.
I got this. I actually got that one wrong in the last video I made. So
Okay.
now I know what it is.
Madison, keep an eye out for that.
All right. Ascendenton.
It's when you deliberately do not use conjunctions in a phrase, so that you just
How?
like you
Are
put
you reading this?
what?
Are you reading this?
No, it's on the back of there.
Oh my god.
It's so it's like just put comments after each thing to make the list seem, I guess, you make it seem more important, longer perhaps in certain cases.
Hyperbole.
When you exaggerate something for effect.
Yeah. Sarcasm.
Something he's a fan of.
Exactly. Big
Type
sarcastic
of
person.
irony.
Yeah.
Anaphora. It's my favorite.
Anaphra's use of repetition of words in the beginning of successive clauses.
Mhm.
It's
Yes. Okay. Polysyndeton.
the opposite of asyndeton, where you deliberately use extra conjunctions in certain phrases.
Example, please.
It's like I take this in this year in school. I take math and science and social studies and gym and
Okay.
lunch.
Do you take one?
Describe. Explain the simile versus a metaphor.
I mean, they both similes and metaphors both are used to compare two different objects. Although a simile uses like or as in that comparison. Both of them are extremely effective. And they both achieve pretty much the same purpose. Just their style is a little different.
Consonants.
Pretty much the same as assonance, except it's consonant sounds that are repeated instead of
How do you know this?
vowel sounds.
Antithesis.
Okie dokie.
Thesis is it's when you relate two opposite things together.
Yeah.
Sort
Okay. Direct contrast of structurally parallel word groupings generally for contrast. Like I guess. And
It's
sink or swim.
Sink or swim, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
This isn't. You don't want to confuse this.
Live or
with,
die.
You don't want to confuse it with
Live free, die hard.
juxtaposition. Those two are
Yes.
different.
Which is juxtaposition.
Juxtaposition is when you relate normally unassociated ideas with each other and place them next to each other in a sentence.
Like what?
Like in Ezra Pound's In a Station of the Metro, who I did for my poetry project last year,
Did you really?
FYI.
Robert
Uh,
Frost.
So
Dr.
the
Seuss.
the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bow. So like the black bow, I'm guessing because it's bolded, is the
Okay.
juxtaposition part there.
Oh,
Is it
so it's
supposed-
like pretty smile on an ugly face, or
Butterface.
butterface. Yeah.
You never heard of Butterface?
Oh.
Okay, well, the video's over, so I'll tell you
Wait,
that.
maybe we should explain that.
Should we explain it? Okay,
Yeah.
a butterface is where everything's attractive but her face.
I used to think it meant
Butterface.
butter's gross, like gross face, but no, but her face makes more sense.
Um,
On
Alright.
that note,
thank you for teaching me that.
okay, get excited for tomorrow, guys. Peace.
Brian, are you serious?
Hey, hey.